Well, let's talk about inflation. What should be happening right now? It's hard for you want to raise prices if you're a CEO so that your margins don't get crushed, but you got to worry about whether that hurts your business long term, right?
Joe, it's multifaceted. I mean, I remember double-digit inflation days from the 70s. Look, most good leaders started a year ago preparing for this possibility of a run-up in inflation. Look, we saw when the Biden administration shut down the Keystone Pipeline as well as Anwar, and then we saw them release the sanctions on Russia, you could predict that we would have a run-up in energy. That combined with all the cash that we were awash with last year in our system, you could see consumer demand staying strong and the inputs for costs going up. So what you have to do is focus on your customers, make sure that that you pass through as few costs as you can, work with your employees and make sure they're protected, make sure that your equity and debt stakeholders are fully aware of what you're trying to do to make sure that they're protected as well. And then lastly, you've got to look at your capital, make sure that all the capital projects still are viable given a rising cost of capital. So these are the inputs right now that are driving inflation, and most good leaders started doing this about a year ago.
You were a senator, Republican senator from Georgia. What do you think policymakers should be doing right now? Would you ease the supply chain, try to do things there? Would you, I don't know, I guess you'd open up, you'd do any or all energy policy,
Joe,
and do everything you can possibly do for that. And maybe you wouldn't tell you'd probably be happy that the Fed was finally stepping up to the plate with some rate increases. You wouldn't be trying to talk them into keeping rates low, I guess.
Well, two things. No, I think right now, as low as rates have been for a while, there's a balance between runaway inflation, which is the ultimate fear of most CEOs. I mean, nobody knows how to manage double-digit inflation. Nobody can make money for their stakeholders or protect their employees or customers when you have 12, 15% inflation. Most people in the workforce right now don't remember that. The second thing, though, I mean, you asked the question, I would open up our energy resources. I mean, that's the simplest thing we can do right now as a country. If I were in the Senate, we'd be screaming about that. And we need to open up the pipeline again. We need to get Anwar opened up and rely on our own resources. Right now, we're vulnerable to people who hate us, and that's a big geopolitical weapon that we have. Look, we should be supplying all the natural gas to Europe right now instead of Russia. So, I mean, this is a multifaceted problem. As a senator, you can have certain impact. A CEO has others. But right now, we need to all batten down the hatches because this thing is real. I saw 7.9%. The last month. I mean, these are scary numbers, and the inputs haven't really flowed all the way through yet, Joe.
Senator, there is a Republican governor already in Georgia, and I've heard people say that there should be unity. And what's your motivation for trying to oust Brian Kemp? And you do have the backing of former President Trump. In this. What's the rationale? Does it have to do with voting and what happened in Georgia, for example?
It's very simple. Our party is divided. People said to me when I announced that you can't do this, you're going to divide the party. And my answer is no, the party is already divided. Our current governor has been in denial that anything happened in 2020. Didn't give us he let the consent decree go through. He denied a special session for us several times and has been in denial anything happened. And that split the party. And so with a split party, there's no way you're going to beat a Democrat candidate in November. We proved in 2020 that by uniting all facets of the Republican Party, we can produce more votes than the Democrats, and that's what we have to do now. I couldn't stand by and watch this train wreck happen. I just don't think Brian Kemp can beat Stacey without pulling the party together. And the question is, if he were going to be able to do that and willing to do that, wouldn't he have done it already?